We are. We're on. Woohoo! You're here with us for another session of the Sacred Relationship Lab. Nice to have you with us again. And today we're going to deep dive into a couple of questions which are both coming to us from the male listeners, which is getting really good because, at first there was a few women asking questions, and I'm so pleased that there's some men diving in and being brave enough to ask questions. So it's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. Like one of the things you got to understand is this playbook of life. We never got a playbook. So, a lot of us are flying in the dark where we're repeating things that we've seen that no longer serve us. So, to ask a question and just get clarity, that's where freedom becomes. Because if you don't know, you don't know. And there's no shame in asking a question to get clarity, to make your life better, to make your relationship better, to make things with your partner better. So, power to the men out there, because as soon as you start doing this, you go to the thing that you feel the most fear towards. And when you go towards something that you fear, eventually you'll overcome that fear and you won't have that anymore. So it's exciting to see men and women asking these questions. It's so cool.
Yeah, I always think about the analogy, when you're in school and you really desperately wanted to ask a question, but you felt stupid. You thought, God, everybody must know this answer. And can I ask it? There's the whole class going to laugh at me? Am I going to look stupid? And you never put your hand up. And then some other kid put their hand up and asked the question. And all the other kids in the class going, yeah, I didn't know that either. It's that we think we think too much before we ask these questions. So it's so good to just ask them, and as you say, get some clarity, because there will be somebody else feeling exactly the same as you.
Yeah, and if it's a question that you've, often had for a while and you can't get the answer and you can't go to friends or people because of that fear, there's nothing more powerful than just having a space that you can chuck it in anonymously. Like Joanne and I don't know all the answers, but we can shoot some stuff that might give you the wisdom to get the gold nugget that you need in life. And I'm all about it now. I love learning. I'm not afraid to look, to be that student, because I realize that every time I'm like that, every area of my life gets better. So power to everyone out there that asks these questions and jumps in and gets involved, because it takes a lot of courage, because although we're asking the question anonymously, you still had to send the message to us. So
Yeah.
that takes a lot too.
Yeah, kudos. Shall I go in with the first question?
Yeah, let's go.
So the question is, um, my wife, I think my wife involves the children too much in our affairs, and I'm worried about the safety of the kids. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, so this is a big question. Are they, do you know if they're together?
No,
Don't
yeah,
know.
they're still together, and obviously whenever there's a squabble, I got a
Mm,
little bit of a backstory. Whenever there's a squabble, um, or and there's just some natural disagreements, the children are brought into it. They know what's going on, they know the ins and outs, and like the mum is talking to the kids, and the kids are like early teens, early to mid-teens. It's like, and the
mm.
dad's going, I don't think we should bring the teens in, and I think the mum's like, well, why? There's nothing to hide in this house, kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I got some pretty strong views on that. And the first one is your kids should never be involved in arguments or discussions or in-depth conversations that you're having with your wife or partner. That's someone who's bringing someone in to sort of back them up, and it's not acceptable. And one of the things that I'm really big on with men is you actually have to have boundaries in your relationship. And if that was me, the first thing I would be saying is that that's not happening anymore.
Mm.
That's a non-negotiable in this relationship. Sure, you can inform your children about things in life, but really all you're doing is you're using them as a pawn in the game of the argument, or to deflect, or whatever's going on there. But I'm a huge believer that, first of all, work it out together. It's like coming home every day and just spewing all your shit up on your kids. You just don't do it.
No.
That's what being an adult is about. It's about taking accountability and responsibility for the things going on within your relationship, working together to sort them out. And if there's something you need to share with your kids, cool. But 9 times out of 10, they don't really need to know the dynamics of what you're working through, unless something's happened and you want to clarify or give them a sense of safety by communicating, hey, sorry for this or what. Yeah, I don't think that your children, teenage children, should be in the middle of discussions and arguments and conflict within the relationship. And I think as a man, if that's how you feel, actually really voicing that and creating a boundary around that and really holding to that boundary, that's something that men need to do in relationships because it creates a sense of safety for the woman as well. And
Hmm.
it creates a sense of safety for the children. So if you know in your heart and even in your gut that this isn't right, then you're 9 times out of 10 in the right place. So, but I understand it too because sometimes we can start to doubt if is this right? Is this normal? But yeah, that
Yeah.
would be my take on it, Joey.
I 100% agree with everything you say, and I don't believe we should ever bring our children into anything. And like I deal with it a lot in the family arena, and I have done over the years. And even when, it happens mainly when people are not together and, you hear the one parent slagging off the other parent, and I'm like, "It's never okay." And, "Oh, but they did this, this, and this." It doesn't matter, you know what? That child is half of you and half of them, whether you are in a relationship or not in a relationship. And when we go to our children and say something detrimental about the other parent or bring them into our argument, well, one, it causes stress within their systems, and
Mm,
two, it's making our children, well, believe that gossiping is okay, believing that offloading is okay like that, and then almost trying to make them choose a side. That's not a
mm,
fair position for any child to be in, and it's not okay even when they're adult children.
yeah,
You even when, like, I'm in my 40s, I've got a mum and I've got a dad. They've not been together for many years, but I've still got a mum and a dad. I don't need to hear anything bad about either of them. And to be fair, my mum was awesome. She never did that. And if my dad says something now, I just shut it down immediately. It's like having that boundary. No, we are not having that conversation. Not prepared to go there. You can have your opinion, but I'm not prepared to go there. And I know from my kids, I split up with their dad 12 years ago. And they are so sensitive to a lot of stuff. Even if I say something good about their dad, they still don't want to hear it.
mm,
They can't even hear the word me mention his name out loud because there's just this divide now and they don't want to hear it. And I'm like, okay, right, I respect that. But our children are to be protected. They're here to thrive as individuals, and they should never be brought into our conflict or our
yeah.
troubles, our woes. We want to try and protect them as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, and that's such a valid point, like they're children. Don't bring your adult problems into that relationship because now you've crossed the line.
Mm,
Now you've turned them into your partner, you've turned them into your therapist. And, they're in a very um, pivotal point, in their teenage years and early, coming into that things like that can really have a lasting impact. And so I think it's about taking responsibility as an adult to, all right, okay, maybe I've made a mistake here and I need to move out of that. Yeah, and I'm all for no secrets and an open house, but be responsible with that too. Because, like I say, man, if you're spewing up on people all the time, they're a sponge. They're going to absorb it, and eventually it's going to impact them. So, Joanne shared a key point there: like boundary. No, we're not doing this. And boundaries have to have a consequence. And if that consequence keeps getting crossed, then you have to take action to honor yourself because that person is no longer honoring you. So
yeah.
that's a big thing that I'm in, like keep your children out of your shit and sort it out between each other. And if you can't go get some help, don't use your kids as your therapist.
Yeah. And what I would say to back it up, just as a little bit of help, is I believe everybody's trying to do the best they possibly can in the
Mm,
situation. I believe your wife, your partner, I don't know if you're married, sorry. I don't believe she's trying to do anything bad to your children. It's just happening. But it can stop now. And it can stop by maybe suggesting that she goes and has somebody to talk to, because she's obviously at that point where I'm feeling a bit of energy here. I'm feeling like she's at the end of a tether, and it just comes out because they're the people who are there closest, and she wants to get off her chest there and then. Let her have an outlet, see if she wants to go and talk to somebody. Maybe you need to go to some therapy together. I don't know. I don't know where you are down the line, but I would say, still look at her through eyes of kindness and compassion. She's trying her best. Yes, she's making a few mistakes along the way, as we do, but maybe see if she wants to go and talk to somebody, because I think that would be really helpful for her.
yeah, one of the things that screams to me is I'm feeling cornered. I need support. I need to offload this. I can't deal with it on my own. So
Yeah.
You know, like Joanne said, maybe just sitting down and have a conversation. Make your point clear that you don't want the kids involved, but also find out
Mm,
why she's doing that. What is it? Because way underneath that, there'll be something, and if you can hold the space for her to share, she'll just break open and, oh, I feel like I'm being attacked, or I feel like I'm alone, or I don't know how to cope with this. And
mm,
in that space, you know, there's always ways through this, but communication is the key. And
mm,
one thing I'd say as the man is give her space to really share, and she might get upset and she might get emotional and she might, but the minute you can just hold a safe space without reacting to what she's saying, the real reason of why she's doing it will come out, and then you'll go, oh, and then once you understand it, you'll be able to hold that space for her
mm.
in these discussions that are, you know, a bit difficult at times.
Yeah, and be prepared as the man to hear things you might not want to hear. Because it sounds to me like, as well, there's probably been years of things happening, and maybe there's some patterns of behavior there, either maybe not being seen, not being heard, not being cherished, not being valued, not being understood. There's, as you say, there's that underlying cause, which is creating some symptoms. So it's important to get to the underlying cause, but be prepared to listen and really openly listen, because there's definitely some things going on there. But for you two to connect, it takes a lot of listening.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll come back to that last point too. You know, often that's our inner child reacting.
Mm,
So, like I see it with people, just even in the world now, when something will happen and you'll literally see the child in them come out, and the way they act, the way they talk, the way they respond. So just you know, as a man, like just notice. Oh wow, when this happens, she goes like that. Oh, what does that represent? Oh, that's someone. Now you're not going to go and tell her all this, of course, but it's you learning what's triggering your wife, what's triggering your partner to shut down or to go to the kids. And as you start to be able to see, oh, she feels unsafe here, or what can I do to reassure her that she's safe? And you
mm,
know, just conversation, safe, open conversation where you can actually let that person share what they need to share without you having to defend it or attack back, or, you know, just hear it and then let it land. And then from there, you'll notice. But definitely something you want to, you know, sort of get rid of in the relationship as soon as you can.
yeah. Cool. Thanks. That was a good question, and I'm sure that will actually resonate with quite a lot of people, because I think children in this day and age, especially, get brought into way too much stuff. They know too much stuff which is going on in households. I see it, I deal with a lot of teenagers, and they come to me and they tell me stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I can help you work through that. But, and then obviously have a chat with the parents as well. And it's like, maybe you want to keep some of that to one side. And it's not a fault, it's not a blame. It's just, I think it's almost like a society thing. Kids are quite savvy. They're seeing things all the time on social media. They know stuff. The programs that they watch are quite grown up, and I think I think we are also seeing some stuff on TV and through the media, and some things are more normalized. Well, we've got to make this not normal. We've got to take it back to the reality of, no, we shouldn't be bringing our kids into stuff.
And this is why I'm so big on doing something, because even if it's not being said, it's being said through the frequency of you,
Yes,
right?
it
Maybe
is.
the way you shut down, the way you go quiet, whatever it is, but that transmission of your nervous system is being transmitted to your kids. So if you're not mentally and emotionally in a good space, and I'm not talking about 24/7, 365, but if in general you're not in a great space within the relationship, you've got to really look at that, because the impacts are so grave over time.
Mm,
And so just, you know, like parenting is more about what you don't do with your kids than what it is that you do with your kids. That's what I learned on my journey is it's yes, I'm going to show up, I'm going to be a parent, I'm going to do all these things, but it's what I do outside of that space that really impacts my children and really impacts their life. So
for sure. Yeah, no, I definitely second that as well.
yeah.
Ooh, big one.
Yeah, it was. So I got a good one.
Oh, come on then, let's hear it.
So I'll ask it to you on your side. So I've had a man ask, how do I get my wife to soften, to be more open in the relationship?
Oh, I think that creates building a bit of trust
Mm,
and creating space for her to do that. Because we
mm,
kind of touched on this a little bit last week. Women are fiercely independent nowadays, and mainly in their masculine energy. we're not made to be in that way. We're made to be soft, we're made to be held, but unfortunately, again, society and the way it's gone over the years, men have forgotten how to be men and women have forgotten how to be women. And I think over time, she's probably got some protection around her heart for some reason, which would have started in childhood. We go on about this all the time. The protection would have started, the coping mechanisms would have started somewhere along the line. And again, we start to put this iron casing around our heart, and then we put a bit of barbed wire around it, then we put the moat around it. And you have to break those things down. But that happens with intimacy, and intimacy is not sex. Intimacy is not that. It's about allowing, is she safe with her emotions with you? Are you able to take those emotions on and listen and absorb? And is she safe in that environment? Are you doing the things like taking charge and allowing her to have space? Are you what is the atmosphere like in the house? How do the two of you communicate? Can you come up with some suggestions like, let's just have a sit down and a chat, honey? Can we talk about stuff? Are you free with your emotions? Because we always say, what you want back, if you want your wife to soften, are you comfortable in your feminine energy? Are you comfortable in that? Are you comfortable to soften and allow your feelings to come up? It's a curiosity, isn't it? It's a questioning thing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's like, I wanted to hear that from a female point of view too, to understand. And I'm really big on that too, like if you're grounded and present, then she'll feel safe. But that also comes back to being, really starting to learn who you are, really starting to break off the conditioning, the fears, the doubts, the insecurity that have you not in that space that because if it's not something that just happens, it's an energy. So if I'm in my masculine, I'm confident, I'm grounded, I'm certain, I'm leading, the natural state of the feminine, it will just happen. It's like a switch, but I can't just ask her to be soft or open in the relationship when I'm, erratic or emotionally unavailable or, I'm not showing up and leading or, so it's really about embodying masculinity. And to do that, you've got to move out of your childhood, the boy psychology, I say, and move into that mature masculine. And a lot of men are mature in certain areas, but they're not in others.
Hmm.
And that means that you're not mature across the board. And if you're not mature across the board, then you're not safe across the board.
Hmm.
And so it's all about, leadership. And when I talk about leadership, that's I always say soulful and savage. So with your wife and your partner, you're soulful, you're open, you're loving, you're expressing, you're giving. Because that which you want to, Joanne said it, that which you want to receive, you've got to give it first. But most of us are, oh, I'll wait. If she gives it, I'll give it. If he gives it, I'll give it. And
Mm.
then there's push and pull, push and pull. And, no one actually ever gets to experience the full, vitality of the relationship like it was in the early stages. You can get that back, but you've got to realize that that was brought into your life for you to heal the things that are stopping that, which
Mm.
go back to the childhood. But that person in the relationship is your mirror. And as soon as you can see, oh, fuck, that's what's happening here, go work with someone or figure it out, resolve it, and they'll resolve it. And you just get closer and closer. So, yeah, that's my thing is grounded and present, leading, strong, confident, and open.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I agree. And what I would say as well is, um, if you're going to create a space which is safe, don't expect her to soften and open up immediately, because don't have an expectation on her, because she's built up a protection over time. Well, it's going to take time for that protection to fall down and for her to feel safe. So create the space, do the beautiful things, but then don't back off.
Mhm.
Don't retreat and take it away. You've got to stick with it. It's like, when it's going to sound really awful, but when you train a dog, you have to do it every day.
Yeah,
Otherwise, the dog's going to forget. When we're training our children, if we're putting some new rules into a family, then you have to stay very consistent and you have to keep the boundaries in place and you have to keep up with the consistency. And then children usually fall into line within a few days or a few weeks.
yeah,
Same's going to be for your wife, just is probably an awful analogy when I bring up dogs and children, but you know what I mean? It's like sticking with it, do the beautiful things, create the space of openness, allow her, create the space of safety, but without an expectation, because then you're going to be very disappointed. But just know that your work is never wasted.
Yeah, and a big thing I'm seeing with a lot of men that I'm coaching right now is men have this gaping big wound in themselves that they're trying to fill with with anything they can. And often they have a motive to get sex from the act of, or the service of, or the giving. So you haven't even energetically come at it from the right space, you know.
Mhm.
So if you've got a motive, you're going to need motivation to do it. Whereas, like, you know, inspiration will create intimacy without wanting anything in return. And when you don't need something, the universe is very, very good to give it to you, right? So, you know, and understanding her love language, understanding what brings her alive, you know, because the very thing you're doing is what you think she needs in order for you to get what you want.
Mm.
Whereas if you can give what she needs in order to feel safe and unconditional, this is why it's called unconditional. I'm giving it because I don't need anything. But when we don't get something back, that actually, you know, like we share, triggers all our childhood woundings, our insecurities, our fears, our doubts. And then we start to close down or get aggressive, or, you know, so it's really about, you know, relationships aren't for you to get love. Like, once I understood this concept, they're containers for us to heal. And the byproduct of that is you get to experience love within yourself, which then is mirrored back to you in this other person. So it's really important to, you know, go deeper, and you're the best book you'll ever read. Trust me, you are the best book you'll ever read. But
Mhm.
that takes a great amount of courage to go and look in those chapters that you haven't looked into, and those ones that you've not wanted to look into, that can actually bring so much joy. You only get a short time in life, so you want your relationships to be fire, you know?
Yeah, you do. I know. And whenever you are pissed off, angry, triggered, resentful, bitter, it's never about anybody else. It's always about you. It's always about you. Same for happiness, joy, bliss. It's all about you as well. Like, you're in alignment. But the other things that, we look at outside source and everybody that made me angry, or that's done this, or that's done that. It's never about that. It's always an opportunity for you to heal. Every
Yeah.
single one of those feelings is an opportunity for you to heal something inside that is desperately seeking validation and to be healed.
This is probably the biggest challenge I see in the world with with relationships is all the Disney movies and all the romance novels and everything said, you know, like lines like "I can't live without you" and "you complete me" and "I'd die if I didn't have your love." And they've actually drawn us away to believe that that person gave us love.
Mm,
But all they did is they just filled our temporary, I share it all the time, they temporarily gave us the feeling of the absent childhood wounds. So we awaken the love that we've always been.
yep.
But men, I know I was guilty of this for years, that I was trying to get my wife to love me the way I thought she did in the beginning of the relationship, that honeymoon phase. But as I went through the journey, I realized, oh, she just temporarily filled the wound, so activated the love within me that I always have been since I got here, that I've just forgotten about. And then that's when you realize that as you start to give that, it comes back to you. Life's a mirror. So,
Mhm.
you know, it's a journey to do this, and it's very foreign, you know, especially to men. If you haven't, you know, like I said, 3 years ago, if I was listening to something like this, I'd be like, man, you're cooked. Well, you know, but it's the realest thing I've ever known, you know, and as you start to dive in, you realize how misled we've been, and how, you know, we've been pulled away from our power to always look externally into the external world for something that we can only receive from awakening it, or bringing a realization that we've always been that internally.
Absolutely. We are pure love. It's an energy. It's a form of energy. We are pure love. And it's so funny, I was having a conversation with a friend earlier, and we've both been triggered this week by our ex-husbands. Like they've, just something's happened and we've been triggered. And it's so easy to go, oh, what a fucker, or what a knob, or something like that. But and that's like a knee-jerk reaction to go, oh my God, he makes me so angry, or whatever it is that comes up. But actually, then it's like, what's being triggered in me? And
Mhm.
what do I need to heal? Because yes, their behavior is their behavior. I never could deal with it when we were together. Certainly ain't going to change it now we're not together. So let's put that one to one side. But what is being triggered in me? Is it an injustice in the world? Is it something that's going on? Is it just things aren't changing? Is it a betrayal? Is it what is it inside of me? And we both laughed. We go, it'd be so much easier to blame somebody else. It would be so much easier for it all to be
Oh,
their fault.
yeah,
But God damn it, it's not their fault. It's something in me. And we've both done our healing journey. We were laughing about it, but it's like sometimes it would just be so good to just blame other people.
yeah. You're not hearing what they said. You're
Mm,
hearing what's triggering your context that you formed in your childhood. Like
totally.
every person, I had a client today who said, "Oh, in the morning my husband says this, and I feel like, oh, I want to strangle him and kill him." And I said, "Yeah." And then when we worked through it, she wasn't hearing. He was asking, "What are you up to for the day?" And she was hearing like he was asking it like her parent, like,
Yeah.
and what she was hearing is, "I can never do enough." And I said, so as soon as you can sit in that and feel that trigger, that'll release relief and you'll be gone. And it's got nothing to do with him. He's just asking, what are you up to today? And you're taking it like he's personally attacking you. So it's the same in everything in life. Like you said, Joanne, like everything that triggers you is yours to work through.
Totally. It's really annoying at times, I'll admit. It is quite annoying sometimes, but it would be so much easier if it be somebody else's fault. But no, it's really liberating. And when you can look at every opportunity as a chance to heal, it's actually really exciting. Even when, like, you and I would talk before we came on, Stacey, and I shared some personal stuff about my family. I've had a really tough 6 weeks, and it has been tough. You're only as happy as your unhappiest child, the saying goes. So when something happens to a child, it's your journey as well. So it's been a really tough 6 weeks, but always within that, I look for the lessons because there is always, always beauty in pain. There's
Yeah.
always beauty and there's always lessons and there's always this chance for healing. And when we take that opportunity, when we grab it with both hands, the toughness of life builds our strength, builds our character, and actually elevates us to new dimensions and new powers.
Yeah. Well, you think about this, you can't know the highest highs if you didn't know the lowest lows. Like none of us would watch any movies if the person in the beginning of the movie just won every time they went into whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
The athlete who just won and had no adversity, the businessman or woman that just won who had no adversity. Why do we love those movies? Because we see that person go through, immense adversity, overcome and triumph. And the human journey is the same. We've just got to realize that, our life's a movie and we're here to learn some stuff on our movie that when we learn that lesson, we can actually transcend it and create what it is that we want to create. But most of us aren't looking at the movie and realizing that, oh, that scene came around again. Oh, that's the fifth, sixth, seventh time that scene's come around. Oh, fuck, that person did it, or the universe, or God, or the government, or whatever you want to blame. But when you become sovereign, like Joanne said, and I've got this mantra that I live by in my life. I'm 100% responsible for everything that's happening in my world. Now I'm still a man and I'm still a human being, and some days I'm like, fuck, that's fucking da 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 da. That's not, and then I'll come back. Oh, okay, come on, come back to it. And sometimes you can see it straight away, and sometimes you can't because these things have been unconscious to you for 10, 20, 30 years, and they're just coming into your awareness. So they might have to come around a few times for you to see it and then
Mhm.
realize the learning or the lesson, and once you learn it, you'll move beyond that.
Mm, I agree. Always good conversation, Stacey. Oh, good
Yeah,
juicy questions today as well. Really good questions. I like it.
yeah,
This
and
is
from men too, so it's cool.
it is. It's really cool. But I think it resonates. Oh, I mean, they always resonate with both sexes. But I think men think that women are going through different things and women think men are going through different things. But actually, when you always lay it on the table, you know what? We're always quite often going through the same things. We are
Mm.
different. We're very different. Men and women are very different. I'll give you that. But there is similarities and there's crossovers and there's certain things in life which we both worry about and we both experience. And it's important to know that it can happen both sides.
Yeah, and even a message to the men out there. You've got to realize there's been an attack on masculinity for decades now, and there's a reason for it. Because they realize that if they destroy the man, if they destroy that aspect, they can control the families, they can control the children. The woman will have to move into the more masculine energy, and they throw out the dynamics of nature. You know,
Mm,
once you throw out the dynamics of nature, the universe, God, you're going to run into a shitstorm, all right? And just have a look in the world right now at that, you know. And I say the war on masculinity has been won, but the question is what are we going to do about it? And the more that we actually go back and we heal these wounds as men and we move out of that boy psychology and we get around masculine men and we get around a brotherhood of men that we can take our shit to. Don't take all your shit to your woman. If you want to ruin your relationship, take every fucking problem and emotion you've got to her and watch it destroy it. You know, I'm not talking about pure vulnerability. You know, I said to someone the other day, he said, oh, I took this to my wife. I said, no wonder she doesn't want to have sex with you. And he's like, what? And I said, because you just fucking took all of your deepest, darkest shit and dumped it on your woman, and she's just had to shut down because she doesn't feel safe. I said, that's where you bring that to this space, you know, to your brothers or to a male coach or to a community of men that you can actually work through. And then when something happens in life and you show tears of joy, or you know, you lose a loved one and you break down in front of your wife or your partner, that's beautiful emotion. That's when she will just melt and do what that woman does. But you've got to really understand that it's a fine line between sharing all your shit with your wife and all your emotional baggage and her being your therapist, and then you want to have sex with her. It's not going
yeah.
to happen.
No.
So, you know, like really take responsibility to heal as a man. Like step into that fucking power. Yeah, you'll be afraid, you'll be scared, but man, the impact on your relationship it's life changing. And you know, I just wish more men could understand that
Mm,
the more we do on ourselves, the stronger we get, the more we get around men that'll also call us out on our bullshit, you know. You know,
yeah.
I've got men that I friends that are, you know, they'll come to me and I'll say, fuck, you need to level up, man. And their wife's not going to say that.
Yeah.
You
She's
know,
probably
so
thinking it, but yeah, no, I know
yeah,
what you
yeah,
mean. But the flip side's the same for women, women have forgotten how to be women. So we need to remember that. And the
yeah,
more we remember how to be women, and it might be like, oh, but I've got nobody to support me. Oh, I can't do that because there's no take away all those excuses because again, that's a man-made story. That's a man-made story. You can be as much in your feminine as you want to be, even if you're on your own, even if you're a single parent. I know I've done it. I've been on the journey and I know how masculine it can all be. At one point I was running two businesses. I had four kids. I was a single parent. I was like, oh my God. I was like, masculine, masculine, masculine. We need to learn how to partner with the feminine, how to awaken that feminine goddess energy and allow ourselves to be raw and vulnerable and real and allow ourselves to feel and be open and in flow with grace and ease. Because, like when you're just talking about like the world doesn't want you to be men in that way, it's so true. Imagine if women were allowed to be women and men were allowed to be men in their most beautiful forms. And they come together and the energy can shift sometimes. Sometimes the women can go into masculine while the man goes into the feminine. It can come back and go forth. Oh my God, there's just going to be this most beautiful harmony and balance in the world again.
yeah. And that's what I'm big on now. Like, no one's going to give it to you, man. Like no one's coming. The agenda is to destroy masculinity, attack it, make it so scared that you are afraid to stand for anything, to stand up to anything, to step into your power. And the minute we do, this whole shit changes. The attack on our children changes, all these agendas that are ruining our kids and relationships and people. And, you know, like it's so important for our women to heal, for our children to heal, that men actually lead the journey.
Mm,
Because the minute you do, man, the minute you lead, just trust me, life will be in flow state because Mother Earth is the feminine, the women are the feminine, and you get to, you know, really experience the highs of that if you do the work.
reap the rewards.
Yeah.
Yay! Well, Stacey, we've done it again, buddy. We're doing awesome. I'm going to press stop record. I'm going